Today I'm talking to Dr. Nisa Novita, a Nature Conservancy scientist who studies peatlands in Southeast Asia in honor of World Peatlands Day. Hi Nisa, thanks so much for joining me today. Why are peatlands so important?
Hello, Robert. I'm really honored to talk with you today. It's fantastic to see a young, smart man want to discuss about this underappreciated ecosystem. Let's start with at least three main reasons why peatlands are important. First, peatlands hold the largest natural carbon stores. It's a home to more than 30% of the carbon store in the soil worldwide. So it's a play critical role for the climate change mitigation. Peatlands in my region, in tropical region, store the most carbon as the peat depth in this area can reach up to more than 20 meters. And then the second one, peatlands also provide remarkable environmental services such as habitat for various important wildlife and sometimes endangered and rare species such as orangutan, Sumatran tiger. Peatlands can purify water, providing food, flood mitigation as they can act like a giant sponge, an important source for medicinal plants. And then the third one, when we talk about human socio-economic aspect, this is a place where people put their historical and cultural values in addition to their main source of livelihood.
Yeah. They make up only 3% of Earth's surface, but hold over twice as much carbon as the world's forests combined. Everyone talks about tree planting. Why aren't we focusing on peatland conservation?
Now you understand the importance of peatlands in terms of carbon. When we discuss about the climate benefits, conserving peatlands brings more important carbon mitigation potential compared to the tree planting. Yet limited people know about this superpower ecosystem.
Draining and burning peatlands makes around 5% of human-driven greenhouse gas emissions. In the UK, there is a movement to ban the use of peat in gardening. This year, trying to improve our garden soil, we had a lot of nurseries tell us to use peat. We are really behind in North America with educating people on the importance of peat.
Yes, you are right. Based on UN Environment Report, the 5% of global emission is actually from 0.4% of the world surface. The emissions are enhanced when we are talking about peat fires, such as what happened right now in Canada. And you can imagine how important this ecosystem to keep our Earth temperature stable.
Yeah.
Gardening, drainage, fires, overgrazing, and peat extraction for fuel and compost will switch this ecosystem from an effective carbon storage to a net source of greenhouse gas emissions to the atmosphere.
What creatures rely on peatlands?
Us, human, millions of people around the world depend on peatlands for their livelihood. Then, many endangered and rare species rely on our precious peatlands. Peatlands are packed full of amazing and unique species.
Are peatlands in trouble? If we lose them, will they just grow back?
We can see around the existing data in the world, 80% of UK peatland has been affected due to a range of human activities. You mentioned one of them is extraction for gardening. About half of Indonesia's peatlands have been degraded or drained primarily due to plantation or forest plantation or other agricultural activities. In the northern hemisphere, permafrost is thawing and causing peat to dry out, while in the tropics area, peatlands are being drained, cleared, and set on fire to make way for agricultural plantation that produce palm oil and wood pulp. Peat is a type of organic soil which is made up of partly decomposed vegetation and is formed over centuries in waterlogged conditions. Some peatlands in existence today took more than 10,000 years to develop. In Borneo, where TNC is working right now, our data has shown that our peatland age is more than 40,000 years. To answer your question whether we can grow back peatlands, it's still possible, but it seems more difficult as we need thousands of years for large areas and saturated conditions to allow some plants only partially decompose to form peat.
Peatland restoration would prevent the release of 394 million tons of carbon dioxide equivalent per year. That's how much Australia emits yearly. Why are we not doing this?
Firstly, we need to protect the remaining healthy peatlands. Then restoration is urgently needed for degraded peatlands around the world to minimize the release of carbon that is locked away in peat. The restoration project include raising water levels, adjusting drainage system, implementing best management practice or low carbon sustainable practices on agricultural lands, replanting, rehabilitation, or developing a mandatory call for restorations are needed.
Researchers say that peat has been drying out due to climate change. Here in Canada, we have 1/4 of the world's peatlands. Firefighters are having trouble putting out fires because when peat burns, it can burn underground without oxygen and can burn for months through the winter and start up again in spring, turning into carbon bombs.
Yes.
What can kids do to help?
So initial condition, peat should be saturated. And then sadly, the drainage or land use change conversions make the soil moisture is become drained. So it's susceptible for fires. When peat is burned, you can imagine we talk about how significant the carbon stores beneath the soil. So when it burns, the carbon, the emissions from the soil will be emitted to the atmosphere. And you mentioned about the duration, it takes months. That's so true because managing below ground fire is far more difficult compared to the surface fire or when you see kind of like a tree is burned. It's also difficult in Indonesia, peatlands accessible to the area is also quite difficult. And sometimes we need helicopter and other fancy equipment to fight the fires on peatlands. It's also dangerous. Maybe we just see the smoke on the soil, but actually beneath the soil, it's still burned. So it will constantly emitting carbon emissions because soil is burned even though we cannot see the actual fires but only smoke. When it gets burned, the problem is more complicated to solve. I want to give an example what happened in Indonesia in 2015. We have a massive forest and peat fires where almost 2 million hectares of areas were burned, an area half the size of Taiwan. And you know the cost? It's more than 5.2 billion US dollar for damage and economic loss from this country for firefighting, and then the cost when the school are closed as you are experiencing, and then health issues and other important variables that are affected due to forest fires.
What can kids do to help?
I like this question. Let's start to communicate peatlands values to your friends or wider audience. For example, like tell the story of the creation of peatlands. You can say like, it took 1,000 years. It took like 40,000 years. And then probably you can involve in peat restoration program around your areas or neighborhood. Create photograph or blog if you like about peatlands. And if you have a chance to meet a farmer who are cultivating peatlands for agricultural purpose, you can tell them how important the healthy peatland is.
What do you wish more people knew about peatlands?
Right now, peatlands are recognized globally as natural climate solutions. It's actually beyond carbon storage for climate change mitigation. It has tremendous co-benefits, not only for humans, but also for other creatures who depend on their life in this ecosystem. So it's crucial but underappreciated ecosystem on Earth.
This has been a really great talk. Thanks so much for joining me today. Click the link below to donate to Nature Conservancy. And remember, together kids can save the world. Please like and subscribe. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
Bye.
Bye.